Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Dr. Felicia Townsend, and I just want to welcome you to today's webinar, Juggling Act, Thriving as a Working Parent Across Every Stage of Parenthood. In a few minutes, I will introduce you to our facilitators, Rachel Potowski from NILFISC and Kim Price from GP Pro. Now, this year actually marks Hygieia's 10th anniversary, so we are so excited. So we are happy to continue to carry our mission to help advance women in the cleaning industry through our programs, tools, and support. And we want to thank all of you for staying with us as we carry out this meaningful work. So our mission, of course, deals with various aspects in the industry, and then we do this via several of our signature programs. We organize national and international conferences and webinars to help promote engagement. We also raise awareness and stimulate discussion through our regional communities, where we host national and international meet and greets across the U.S. and abroad. We also have regional communities on LinkedIn where you can connect and engage with other individuals from the industry. You can also join our mentoring program, which facilitates one-to-one mentoring relationships that could connect mentees with leaders in the cleaning industry to learn and develop. We offer a general mentoring program that connects mentees with leaders outside of their organization to help them learn and develop. And we also offer an exclusive company mentoring program for our Hygieia sponsor companies. The mentees are actually connected with leaders within their own organization. So to date, we have Georgia Pacific, who is a part of our exclusive program. We have Ascendant and Gojo just started their program last week. And also Network Distribution will also be starting their exclusive mentoring program. Lastly, I want to encourage you to join Hygieia and gain access to our tools and resources that help to advance you all in your careers. And you can do so by joining for free at hygieianetwork.org/join, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our facilitators. So we have Rachel Potowski, who is the Vice President of Sales Strategic Accounts at NILFISC. Rachel is also the chair of Hygieia's mentoring program, and she is also a Hygieia Council member. So we also have Kim Price. Kim is the Vice President of Market Sales at GP Pro, a division of Georgia Pacific. Kim is Hygieia's Council co-chair, and she is the past chair of Hygieia's mentoring program. So it is my pleasure to turn it over to these two ladies to get the show started.
Wonderful. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you so much. So to get things kicked off, myself and Kim were going to introduce ourselves just briefly, but I wanted to touch on that this event is unlike anything that we've done before at Hygieia. If you've attended any of our panelists, or our panel discussions or our webinars in the past, they've been a little bit more formal. As Felicia said, that we are facilitators, and that's because this is a true group mentor type of session. Mentoring comes in many different forms, and it doesn't have to be as formal or sometimes as scary as getting involved when you commit to sort of that one-on-one type of mentorship, which probably many of us think of when we think of mentoring. So today's session is going to be, again, a little bit more informal. We have some topics that we're going to go through. We're going to share a little bit of our insights, but we want to hear from all of you as well, with any tips you have to share or questions as well. And in just a minute, Kim will go through some housekeeping on the best ways to do that. So to just further introduce myself from a professional standpoint, as Felicia said, I'm currently the VP of Sales for Strategic Accounts for a company called NILFISC. I've been lucky to be there for 17 years. which has actually helped as part of my Juggling Act goes, because I grew up within Nilfisk. I started in an entry-level role. I was single at that time, no children, and over the last 15 years, got married and started a family. And so being with the same company for me has actually been a benefit because I grew up with them and they grew with me as well. So my current role, from a VP perspective, it certainly requires me to be involved in high-level strategy types of discussions. I'm doing critical presentations for the organization, so certainly a stress level that comes with that. But I most importantly have customers and a team that span the entire country. So with that comes pretty significant travel as well, that I need to find a way to balance through it all. From the personal side, I've been married for 15 years to a very supportive husband, which we'll talk about in just a minute. One reason I'm able to do what I do. But I have 2 daughters. I have a 10-year-old as of yesterday and a 12-year-old. So I'm probably representing sort of that middle, a little bit older age group. You'll hear from Kim in a minute, who's in a little bit of a different stage of parenthood. But my 2 girls are, we're entering a time when they're starting to be a little bit more independent. You know, they could get off the bus and be by themselves for 30 minutes, and that's okay. And that's immensely helpful. So if there's any of you that are out there that have those smaller age group children, I could tell you from that perspective, it gets easier. But we are also starting to navigate, you know, they say bigger kids, bigger problems. So social situations, social media, friendships, all of that, some deeper issues that I find myself certainly still wanting to really be there for them when they need me as well. So with that, I mean, just as far as my kind of quick insights, which we're going to get into some specific topics, you're going to hear a lot today from many people talk about using the village. And I always say that, you know, for me, like many women, my career was starting to take off just as I was starting a family. So for us, my family, we made a decision. We lived 2 hours away from family, and we made a decision to move back home because we knew that I was going to have to start to travel more, and we knew that we needed the grandparents to help as well. And then the second part of that, I'll just briefly talk on. I talked about having a very supportive spouse or significant other or a network, which we'll talk about as well. But for me, it wasn't just having, and actually Sheryl Sandberg talks about it in her book, Lean In. It wasn't just about having, you know, a cheerleader. You know, my husband's been very supportive and rooting me on, but that we had very intentional discussions about my career as well, where we, you know, sat at the kitchen table and said, you know, I think that this is going to happen. I think that I could further grow in my career, and this is the stress it might put on the family. And we chose it together. And that has certainly helped make a difference as well. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kim.
Sure. Thanks, Rach. I'm Kim. Hi, guys. I'm with Georgia Pacific, as Felicia mentioned. Similar career path. I've actually started in an entry-level program with GP 20 years ago, and have been with them in various roles, moved across the country, all the things. So I have 2 boys, actually, toddlers, and I'm also a single mom, which, you know, as if a working mom isn't being hard enough to do, I made it harder by divorcing my husband a couple of years ago with toddlers. So very fun. Not fun, but anyway, my situation it won't be maybe exactly the same as yours, but hopefully I can share some tips and tricks that work for me, and of course pick up a thing or 2 from each of you. So with that, before we start our discussion, we want to make sure everyone has a good experience and gets some things out of this. So a few housekeeping items. First, this is very informal, super casual. We need crowd participation, so please participate. Rachel and I are by no means experts in this area. We are parents just like you, figuring out as we go. So we have ideas to share that work for us. We want to hear from you too. So it'll be very boring if you guys don't add in, but do try to be concise if you do share. So to put a 10 around the circus here, if you guys have something to share or want to ask a question, and by the way, we'll prompt you to do that, use the raise hand feature, and then Felicia will call on you. And then please mute if you're not speaking. If you want to come off camera, that's great too. And again, if you want to use the chat feature, if you're not comfortable speaking, go ahead and do that too. So thank you for those of you that submitted some of your tips prior to the session. We did go through those. Some of them were anonymous, which is great. We'll share some of those. We might call on a couple of you that shared that said that you'd be willing to share with the group. So if we do that, and you're comfortable, come off of mute and share what your tip was. And this goes without saying too, but please, be respectful. Of course, we're all in the boat together here trying to figure it out, and we want diverse perspectives and open dialogue too. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Rach.
Great. Thank you, Kim.
Mhm.
So from a discussion topic perspective, as Kim shared, that some of these came from our surveys of you as well. So thank you for sharing. We're going to touch on time management, practicing self-care, networking, balancing personal/work life, managing work travel, managing that quote unquote mom guilt that many of us are probably familiar with. And also keeping in mind that some of us are parents and some of us are in different stages. And on the other side of things where we're having to be caretakers as well to our parents or others as well. All right, so let's get into some time management techniques. I will be the first to admit that I really can't wait to hear from all of you, because this is one that I think that we all struggle with. Time is one thing that we can't get back. So just a little bit before we jump into tips. So certainly there's some things that we could do to help manage our time a little bit better. Certainly being able to prioritize. I always use the term first things first. So it seems that we always put off that thing that we don't want to do. We procrastinate. If you put that at the top of the list, get it out of the way, that certainly helps. Eliminating distractions. I'm guilty of scrolling on my phone, looking at useless celebrity news. So, a tip, often I find that, especially during work hours when I'm going to meetings, I put my phone out of the way. Sometimes I'll put it in another room as well, just so that I don't find myself to have to be distracted. And then certainly plan ahead. I think as we get into a lot of the topics today, the mention of calendars and to-do lists and all of that will certainly come into play as well. So with that, let's get into some of the other tips. Just a moment, we'll want to hear from all of you. But what I always say, so time can't be bought, but certain other things can be. So I say outsource as much as you can, whether it's a meal service or, for example, a house cleaner. For those of you that have the means, it's money well spent. For me, I'd like to keep a clean house. It was something that was a stress. It was something else that would take away from time on the weekends as well. I would give up the money I pay for a massage for my house cleaner to continue to come to the house, even if it's just once or twice a month, to be able to do some of that deep cleaning. So find a way to engage others or outsource certain things if it helps. Kim.
Yep. Speaking of the meal prep, we found Clean Eats is a really good one. It's a healthy, call it pre-packaged meals. It's not frozen. We like that just for our family. And then also Factor meals too. I don't know if you guys have tried that. They're reasonably priced and healthy. Makes it easy so that you don't order junk food. Gosh, we did Uber Eats the other day. Burgers. I think it was like Five Guys or something. And between the two boys and me, it was $60 to get the burgers delivered to the house. And then it's like crap food. So anyway, that's just a tip that we have too. And then the other thing, and she mentioned it too, but use your village and find your village first and then use them. And I think, being a working mom is really hard. I think we take the burden of the CEO of the house, which was like kind of historic social norms, right? Attempting to keep the kids alive, have them thrive, grow to be good humans, and then managing a career at that. And I don't know how we got signed up for that. Like all of a sudden we're doing all of it, right? So anyway, I think we hesitate to ask for help because we think it's a weakness. I think it's a strength now, but at first I was like, I can't ask for help. I can do this. So I think it's important to find your village. Luckily, I'm lucky enough to live across the street from my parents and 5 minutes from my sister's family, and I get that that's rare. But if you're ready or if you're ready and willing and have family close, ask for help. And if not, you can find other people in your village too. I have friends that don't live near family, but they have friends or neighbors that are like family, and so they carpool together do favors for each other, even group meal prep, which sounds kind of funny, but my mom and I actually do this. We look at the schedule for the week, and I cook dinner 2 nights a week for all of us, whether that they come over to eat or I just drop it off at their door, and they do the same. So that way I only have to cook twice out of the week versus all 4 nights that the boys are there. So the other thing too is to delegate to your partner. The interesting thing for me is the majority of my friends are the breadwinners, actually the females, and they're also the CEO of the house. So I looked up a couple stats, but like 75% of mothers with children under 18 work full time in the US now, which I thought it would be lower than that. And then mothers are the primary or sole earners for 40% of those households now, which is wild. Yet we still find ourselves doing everything for the house, the family, either because we don't trust it'll get done right, guilty of that, or because we feel like it's our job to do it. But I don't know why we feel like we signed up to do both things, be the breadwinner and have a career and also run the house. So I think a clear conversation with your partner, dividing up the responsibilities, how and where it makes sense for you guys swim lane wise would be good. And then I guarantee that they're probably willing to help and capable. They just don't want to get in our way. At least that's what happened with my ex-husband, right? So anywho, village, find them and then use them too.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. I like that. I always call it the family manager, the house manager as well. So I like the CEO of the house. Yeah, I think that's natural for us to fall into our stereotypical roles as well. I say even with a supportive spouse, we still do, but I say I want the school nurse to call me first though. I do want that. So it's hard. You can't complain about it, but so one thing that has helped me, and there's all different sorts of habit building books and readings out there. This is a book. It could also, I think there's a YouTube 20-minute snapshot of it as well. If anybody's familiar with Mel Robbins, and she has something called this 5-second rule. That it's something, again, if it's something you don't want to do, whether it's work on a project or even work out, and she talks about it's basically counting back, it's backwards. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. There's something with psychological from the mind, because you can't go up. It's not counting to 10 where you could keep going. But once you hit go, you put on your sneakers or you start your laptop or whatever it may be. I have found it to be very helpful. And it's just a way to start to build good habits and that discipline. When you talk about time management, you do need to be intentional and disciplined as well.
That's good. And then effective multitasking is another one. I think all of us have to multitask, obviously, to get everything done, but it's about doing it effectively. So if you do it the wrong way, of course, you're either not paying attention or like half going through both things that you're doing. So a couple things that I do, I adjust my drive times. I live in Atlanta and it's an hour commute or 45 minutes without traffic. So it could be 2 hours in the car if I leave at rush hour. So I adjust my work time in the office. I leave at 6 in the morning from my house and I leave the office at 3, and then it's a 45-minute drive and I maximize the time at the office. It feels weird for me because I used to be like before kids, like the first in, last out. Philo is what they called me at the office. And now I can't do that anymore. So it was a hard thing personally to like not be the last one there, but I just prioritized it. The other thing, I plan calls where I don't have to be on camera when I'm driving. So every moment in the car is productive too. Or if it's if it's somebody that's a customer or a teammate that I know is a talker, if you guys all have them and I have to call them and talk to them about something, I do it on my long commutes so that I'm not wasting time like sitting at the desk talking to them or what have you. A girlfriend of mine just started walk and talk one-on-ones with her team. So if they have a one-on-one to connect about priorities or projects or whatnot, they don't have to share the screen. They just get up and go take a walk in the neighborhood or wherever they are. So I thought that was a cool idea too. And then I did that yesterday with one of my mentees. I scheduled it for 4 to 4:30, and I just was out in the neighborhood walking while we talk. So anyway, it's just a couple tips for just being effective when you time.
That's great. Self-care aspect too.
There you go.
Okay.
Lisa, and I can't pronounce your last name. You had a tip about blended work and personal calendars. So I don't know if you're on and you want to come off and share.
Hi. Yeah, I use my work calendar as my personal calendar. calendar.
Yeah.
Or I just invite myself at my work email using my Gmail account. That way I'm not missing anything on either of the two. A lot of times I will also CC my husband, both his work and his personal, so that we have access to everything that's going on personally that's family related.
Yep, because it all blends together too. So you got to leave early to pick up carpool or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Yep.
A couple piggybacking on that, the calendar piece. I use the Cozy calendar. I don't know if you guys have used that before. I found that I did a lot of research on which one is the best, like call it family shared calendar. And that's the one that personally I think is the best. It syncs with everybody in our village, right? So my ex-husband and then my parents and anybody that helps with the kids, and it's notifying like who's picking up who or who's going where. The other cool thing that it does, when obviously sports and activities, my kids are getting into that, but each of those apps that you have, like it's baseball, you can log in and you could download the schedule in a call it a digital form, and then sync it to the Cozy app, and it updates all the practices and all the games from app to app into the Cozy calendar. So it's got everything. I was like manually typing in like tutoring.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, my brother-in-law showed me that. I was like, dang, okay, this is a time saver. So anyway, so that helps. And it even updates when they change a practice. It like syncs right to the Cozy calendar. I don't know how it does it. It's like magic. And then I just recently got the Skylight system. It's not cheap, it's a couple $100, but it's like call it the size of a monitor or something. And it syncs to my work calendar, the Cozy calendar. It's instead of a dry erase board or like a paper calendar that I used to do, I print it out and fill out all the stuff and post it on the dryer or the pin board, the bulletin board. So that replaces that. And then it also has the chores for the kids that I just started. They're young, so they're like, brush your teeth. Did you put the seat down on the toilet? Like all that kind of stuff that you're trying to get a 3-year-old to do. But they can go up and they can check the box for their chores for the day right on the same screen where the calendar is for the week. So anyway, we just started that, but it seems to be working. And then I don't have to update like 5 different calendars at the beginning of the month. And when stuff changes, it's all electronic. So that would help. So, and then Lauren, you had a tip about list management. I don't know if Lauren Hauser is on. Okay, we're 1 for 2. That's okay. She said she uses to-do lists, so she'll make the work to-do list for the day as far as priorities, and then she also has a personal to-do list and uses that as well to manage and make sure that we're getting accomplished what we need to accomplish. One tip I have on the Apple phone, I don't know if you guys use the notes feature on there, but you can turn it into a bulleted kind of task list or whatever list you want and share it with people. So like my sister and I, if we're going on a family vacation, we make a packing list of what we're bringing and who's bringing what, and we share it with each other so that we've got the grocery list and all the who's bringing the, cornhole and who's bringing the, water games and all that stuff. So anyway, I didn't realize that you could share it with other people and like jointly work on it. So anyway, those are the formal tips we had. Anybody that wants to come off of mute or share a tip that they have or ask a question? This is the crowdsourcing time.
Kim, this is Felicia. Actually, Lauren was trying to come on. She wasn't there.
Oh, she is. Okay, we're 2 for 2. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I use my task list, my task in my email for some of the lists, and then we transfer over. We have a family calendar, like whiteboard calendar on the fridge that I use for family stuff, but I try to keep I have a work list and a personal list because there's a lot of stuff going on.
Good stuff. Thank you, Lauren.
Great, thank you.
Tanya has a comment too. She states that she uses a timer. It allows me to stay on task and not get too distracted prior to moving to the next task. So that's Tanya's recommendation.
Yeah, because you can get sucked into something and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the day is wasted or what have you. Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Anybody else? Time management.
We do have someone, Rachel Schneider. You want to come off and give your comment, or I can read it for you? I'll read it. I'll read it. She says, my friend and I also leverage notes on iPhone because we do weekly meal prep together. So we can share recipes, shopping list needs to make this more effective.
Very cool. That's what I was talking about. The notes feature on there is pretty
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's very cool. Sorry, I couldn't come off mute quick enough. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No. You're good. Anything else, Felicia? We can move on to the next.
Yeah. We have another question from Antasia states, how do you stay consistent with the schedule? She has ADHD and it's pretty difficult.
Rach, you want to go or you want me to take
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I think I could relate to that. I think that it is, start small, especially when you're trying to build a routine or be consistent. Don't pick one thing that you want to be consistent with maybe each week, and you want to try to get this done, each day. Start small and build on that as well. But it back to really being that discipline and intentional, even if you need to write a reminder or a goal or post a note around you to bring you back to it. It's something it's a habit that needs to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm either lucky or unlucky, but with my job, I'm in meetings back to back every day, and then I get the kids at 5, and they go to bed at 7:30, and they might have a practice, or it's literally I have to be scheduled because my life is scheduled for me, actually. So it's a little different than when I had a job where it was more free during the day, right? So I don't even remember those days, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it, Rachel. But for me too, it's easy to get away. Like all of a sudden the week is gone and the big stuff I needed to get done, I didn't get done. And because I was in meetings, just participating or whatever. So I've tried to make sure I look ahead, and the big stuff that I need to get done or have think time, I block my calendar for it, or delegate a meeting to a teammate, or decline a meeting. Like an example, we had a Dixie offsite this week, and I manage the field sales team, which is we sell Dixie, but we're not the biggest. The retail side is the biggest of the Dixie side. So I got invited to this plant tour that was an offsite meeting, 3 days, 3 nights, and I said no, which is weird for me because I'm like, FOMO, like I gotta be everywhere. And here I am now. The team is gone for the most, and so my week is a little less crazy, and I can get some things done that I needed to and prioritize and be here for my kids too. So it's okay to say no to things.
Great. Thank you, Kim. And Jeanette, is it Anjette Williams has her hand raised?
Yes, you said my name right. Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
I am a single mom of 1, and I am always riddled with ADHD. I'm not like a corporate baddie. I just have to do it because that's what life is handing me. And so sometimes notes and to-do lists and everyone always suggests those things for people with ADHD. It's still hard for me to keep up with them. It's still hard for me to manage. I may do it this week and not next week. And so I wanted, if anyone else has these issues, I started taking supplements to help with my memory, to help with my not being in like ADHD paralysis and things like that. Focus. And I've been using lion's mane, and I also take these. I'm not trying to get pregnant, nor am I pregnant, but I take prenatals because they have all the vitamins that you need in them, and they're really good. So those things have kind of helped me. And then also just keeping the house clean. I tackle 1 load of laundry. I tackle 1 area of the day. If I'm going to clean the kitchen, I'm not doing the laundry. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Because if it's too much, I will shut down and I won't do any of it. So I just wanted to encourage other moms out there. I have a friend, like it almost paralyzes her. She won't do anything at all. But I want my daughter to grow up in a clean home and, things like that. So I have to push through. And so I just want to encourage other moms out there trying to do it all. And even the cleaning lady did text me, hey, you want me this month? I was like, girl, can't do it this month. But I just wanted to encourage you guys, it's okay. It's okay. If you don't get it all done, just celebrate your small wins. I think is really important for me. I like to celebrate. Good job, Anjette. You cleaned the kitchen. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to put that out there. Just celebrate your small wins because those matter too. They really do.
Yeah,
Love
that's
that.
great advice. Thank you for
Great.
sharing. And
And
that's
we-
actually probably a good, you're talking about supplements and all that into the self-care part of it, I think was our next
Yeah,
topic.
the
Perfect. Thank you so
self-care
much.
topic inherently sounds selfish. So, like, I know that's a lot of us. We're like, we don't have time for me. We're putting everyone else first. So all kidding aside, I think this is real. It actually happened to me. I was running myself so thin, trying to be engaged as a mom and doing like work stuff, and you just get burnt out. Like you can't do it all. So, and you guys have heard this. It's a little cliche, but you can't take care of yourself if you're not taking care of yourself first. And then just fill in your cup. It's not selfish, even, but it is hard to prioritize. So I totally get it. Rachel and I and some of the other folks have a couple tips for that. So Rach, you want to talk about time blocking?
Yeah, sure. And this is kind of, I mean, it kind of goes in line with time management as well, but I think to your point that we have to put ourselves first. And one, just a suggestion is this time blocking. So it's this calendar, making sure you're putting time, you know, we're talking about our Outlook calendars and our, you know, for the grocery list and our meetings and travel and all of that, but use it for your me time as well. Block out time if that means because you want to get a workout in, or you want to take a nap or take a walk or whatever it is. Block out, you know, especially at least in the world I live in, you know, when everybody could see our calendars as well. And I could have a 30-minute slot and then it gets taken, and I'm lucky if I eat a sandwich that day. So make sure that you know, don't be afraid to block out time for you on your calendars as well.
Agreed. One thing that I found is important is like girls trips or girls nights. I have a lot of really great friends that live in Atlanta and don't live in Atlanta. I'm sure all of you do too. Hopefully you have a good network. But does this ever happen to you? You go months without seeing your friend that lives 20 minutes away or talking to them, and you're like, how have we not talked for 3 months? So one thing that I've started to try is call it rolling events. So I always, if I go out to coffee or brunch with a friend, we plan the next one while we're sitting there so that it's on the calendar. And it's not every week or every, you know, it's busy, but it's, you know, we try to do once a month with my friends in Atlanta at least. And then I've done, now that the divorce, half my weekends they're with their dad. So it's a weird benefit. It feels weird not being around the kids all the time, but I have free time to go do things like that with my friends that I didn't before, because I always felt guilty like leaving him with the kids or what have you. So even though I know it's a bit harder, I think it is important to like at least once a year do a weekend trip with your girlfriends and let your partner do the same with their friends too. So that way it doesn't get away from you and you get that time to kind of fill your cup. And also like, it's like group therapy in a way sometimes too. We're all going through the same thing. A couple of my friends are also divorced, single mom type of thing. So we, you know, help each other and then share tips and things like that. And also like just support each other. Right. So Lisa had a comment too about it's a little bit about the time block too, but I like the massage thing. So you want to talk through what you do, Lisa?
Yeah, I just I take 1 day a week for Pilates. I try to do more, but that's my one where I actually have to leave the house. So that's on my calendar. I have to leave work at 4 to get there on time. And I try really hard to do a monthly massage. That goes on the calendar too.
Love that. No, that's good for sure. And I think too, now that the healthcare stuff or the workout places, they'll charge you sometimes if you don't show up when you've booked it. So that's also a little like accountability there too. So Elizabeth, you had a tip about Audible books. Yeah, she said she uses does Audible books while driving so that she can kind of multitask and get some, you know, personal self-care tip time while she's doing something that's, you know, brainless and not brainless, but driving where you don't have to necessarily be in a meeting or something like that. This is a funny story. A customer recommended a book to me called How to Get Unbusy. And so I downloaded the Audible book and I was going to do that and read it in the car, or like listen to it in the car. And then I realized, I'm in the car or I'm walking or working out and I'm listening to a book about getting unbusy at 1.7 speed. Like the guy's like, like, so I was trying to get through the book fast. I'm like, okay, this is kind of ironic that I'm reading a book about unbusyness at doing multitasking and like speeding it up so I can get through it. But anyway, that is a good tip, Elizabeth. A couple anonymous ones that came in, date nights, scheduling those like 1 to 2 times a month. I think, yeah, that's for sure important as you guys know, if you're at the house, it's just, you know, especially with school age kids, you're driving them around all the time and missing each other, probably ships passing in the night, and young kids, you're, you know, hands deep doing baths, reading, you know, all the things that you have to do at
Yeah.
night. So
Yeah.
to schedule time with your partner to
Yeah.
just have some us alone time is really important.
And
And then
it could be simple too. It could be McDonald's in the parking lot if it just means that it's one-on-one time as well. It doesn't have to be extravagant.
yeah, love that.
There are some suggestions for audiobooks in Jet states Hoopla and Libby free with your library card. You can get those resources, audiobooks, free audiobooks.
Great.
Very cool. Yeah, I hadn't been to I'd go to the library with my kids, but I hadn't looked at the adult stuff there. And, you know, sometimes on Audible, those books are, I mean, it's $15 a month to have a member get one thing. So
Yeah.
it's expensive over time, but there's a bunch of digital tools the library has for free. And anyway, I was exploring that the other day too. So another anonymous tip was sleep when the baby or when the kids sleep. Of course, if you have a baby, they say that, but it's the whole, you know, eat, sleep, poop, 3-hour cycle of craziness, as you guys know. So it's easier said than done. I do find myself though, like by the time the kids are down, the work day is done, and that's my only time to have me time, if you will, like glass of wine, TV show or whatever. But then I get sucked in because I don't want to go to bed because I'm enjoying like not having to think. Then I stay up too late, and then the kids wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and it's like a vicious cycle. So I've been trying to start to like schedule a bedtime for myself, and like if I'm watching TV, I have an alarm that goes off at 9:30 that says get to bed. And it's helping a ton to make the next day like more productive so that I'm not just in the vicious cycle of all that. So.
Yeah, sleep is so critical. And not to be underestimated. And I think I remember people would say, oh, the laundry will get done. And I could still remember when my babies were sleeping and folding laundry. And I look back now, like, why did I do that? I should have just laid down and taken a nap. So I'm here to tell you from the future, if you're in that situation, take the nap.
I got that Aura ring. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's kind of like Apple Watch on steroids or whatever, but it monitors temperature, the blood oxygen level, heart rate, sleep. So every morning I wake up and it shows like how REM sleep, light sleep, heavy sleep, and then how many times I woke up in the middle of the night. And my 3-year-old is obsessed with sleeping in bed with me. So I've been trying to get him not to do that. But the nights that he does, I wake up like 9 times a night. So you can just tell by looking at that, like how bad it is for you to like have that. Or if I drink wine the night before, I don't have as much REM sleep or
has an impact. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy. So I don't know if you're weird and analytical like that and want to check that out. It's a cooler, a deeper version than the iPhone or Apple Watch rather. So. All right. Should we bounce to networking?
Yeah, let's do it. So networking, I know when I think of networking, sometimes I think it's work and we're thinking, how does this help? Doesn't this add something else we have to juggle? But when I think of networking, I also think back on, we did a webinar with Hygieia. It was at the peak of the pandemic. I think it was called the Balancing Act, when none of us were balancing anything, when we were, homeschooling our kids, and all of us in this industry were at the front lines. It was a crazy time. But one of the panelists talked about the importance of having a strong network. And they have found through all these studies that whenever, through life's storms, whether it was, I think she used an example as Hurricane Katrina or the pandemic or anything that life throws at us, that those that have a strong network and a larger network weather those storms better. And so it's important that you have a good network. There's lots of, kind of just general tips and suggestions here. But what I like to say about the networking is that it doesn't have to be walking into that cocktail hour where you need to make small talk with strangers. That networking is, think about the current network that you have, whether it's your colleagues or your neighbors or friends of friends, and just getting to know them on a deeper level. Start there, get to try to find common ground with maybe a colleague that you normally just work with from that perspective. Just checking in on one another, that goes a long way too, that it doesn't have to be another thing on your plate to balance. Kim, how about you? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think I try to just build the plan and work the plan and know what I can absorb and take on without trying to do too much. So what I'll try to do is like within our industry, like pick a few colleagues or folks outside of my company that I want to network with and schedule time with them. And I'll do it like while I'm driving or while I'm walking or what have you, just to connect. And then I do that too with internally as well with folks that I want to network with, either in different divisions or different capability areas and things like that. So not it's harder to do when it's easier to do when you don't have a family and you don't have a big job. So that's also tough as your career and your family expands. But that's just trying to like bite off what I can chew and continue to do that.
Yeah. How about is Elizabeth? Actually, I've had a few suggestions from all of you as well. Is Elizabeth on the line?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sure, thank you.
Yay.
Last year I started to set up meetings with women from my work that they might be or not in a position, a higher position, and just to talk very brief with them and ask them very particular questions about their career and their challenges. So yeah, that was very,
That's great.
yeah, it was super nice. I haven't done this year, but yeah, it was a good idea that I haven't had time to do it again.
Yep. And everybody likes to talk about themselves too, so
Right.
that you can learn from their stories, and it also especially endears you to them in a different way versus like if you're trying to get a job with them or something, you can start to build relationships that way to have more of a rapport before a job is open underneath them, and then they might think of you first and things like that. So thanks for
advice.
Anybody else have any networking tips that they do?
I do.
Cool.
Facebook groups in your area of other moms or even careers. For example, I'm an instructional designer, and so I joined like Black working instructional designer group on Facebook. But like there's so many groups on Facebook that you'll find your people. And you can network that way. And so I found that very helpful as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, good suggestion. I don't think I see anything else in the chat, so we can probably move on to the next one.
All right. This is the key of balancing personal life and work life. When you guys figure it out, let me know. Oh, geez. One of our customers announced at one point, like he was kicking off one of our conferences and said, gave us advice about be where your feet are. And I took that one to heart. I think oftentimes with so much going on in our lives that no matter what, we're thinking about the next thing or thinking about what we didn't do at home or at work, you're thinking about the project you've got due tomorrow or the big presentation. And really you can't do anything about it while you're there doing what you're doing, right? So I tried to apply that. It's hard to do, but when I'm playing with my kids in the evening, I'm trying not to worry about my inbox. And I think one of you had a tip of like putting your phone in the other room so you don't even like look at it during the kid quality time. And then even at work, trying to not worry if Will turned in his homework at kindergarten or things like that, right? And just mentally like be present. And then you have better quality interactions and more focused time, quality over quantity, right? So anyway, I don't know if Rachel, I don't know if you have anything else to share.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about balancing, and there's all sorts of whatever podcasts, webinars, readings out there. There was that same webinar which we will share at the end that we did during the pandemic. And I remember Elizabeth, that is also a member of Hygieia, had talked about that there's no such thing as balancing, that we make choices, and that just so resonated with me. Because if you think about, if you're going to balance, something's going to fall and it's going to crash. So, we need to give ourselves grace. We need to make choices every day, sort of set boundaries for ourselves as to, what we want to do and what we don't want to do, or where we need to be. So kind of very, very similar to your advice too, Kim.
And then Lisa, you had a tip about the non-negotiable family time.
Yeah, I also have a toddler. So my calendar is always blocked from 5:30 to 7:30. we don't do a lot of later meetings, but sometimes we interact with global, and that means adjusting and being late. And I can do early morning, but I can't do between 5:30 and 7:30. That's dinner, that's bath, that's bed. And everybody knows if they try to call me, then it's going to go to voicemail.
That's good. Yeah, it's the boundary piece, right? And
Yep.
even alerting your company that you do that, right? So they just manage expectations, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Linda, you had another tip too. Hers was turning off notifications, because even if you put your phone, on the counter while you're cooking dinner, it's still gonna ding and things like that, or just tie you to looking at it. And then also with the Apple Watches, if you guys have that, it's like dinging your wrist as you're trying to have family time or what have you in the evening. So that was her tip, was to like just turn off the notifications for that time. And then one anonymous tip was working with your manager on flex hours too. Obviously now with COVID and the transition back to working in the office,
Yep.
I think that's it's one thing companies have to do because other companies are offering it. So you're not going to have a competitive advantage if you don't offer kind of flex work environments or hours. So working with your manager on, hey, here's my situation, here's what would work best for me and my family. Is this doable? That sort of thing. So I think just one-on-one conversations is always good versus like just following the policy because it's the policy type of thing. So that's helpful too. Anyone have any revelationary tips on balancing or personal and work management? Okay, let's
So we can move on.
work travel. This is the fun one. Felicia, it's the one about the clothes. Awesome. Okay. So I travel for my job almost once a week, pretty much. And what I found, it's a lot of time to like always have to repack everything again. So many of you already probably did this, but I have a toiletry bag that's doubled with what's at the house. It's not cheap necessarily to do that, but I invested in that so that I don't have to like continue to pack stuff in my toiletry bag. It's already ready to go. And like if I use the last of the toothpaste on one trip and I come back, I restock it and it's ready to go in the suitcase already restocked. So I don't have to think about it. Makeup is a different story. I feel like that's way more expensive. So I just have a makeup bag that's portable, like as if you're gonna throw it in the suitcase anyway. So I just use that on my the cabinet on the counter for day to day. And then when I leave, I just throw it in the suitcase. So essentially like zero time there. For outfits, gosh, like ISSA and Network Show and all the conferences we go to, if you're in that part of the industry, I mean, you got to have an outfit for travel, an outfit for the meeting, an outfit for the happy hour, an outfit for the dinner. Like you can have for a 4-day conference 7 to 9 outfits that you need to have. So what I do is I lay out with the hangers, I lay out the outfit with the purse that's going to go with it, the shoes that are going to go with it. I put in a little when you get a piece of jewelry and it comes in one of those like drawstring bags.
Mhm.
I have a bunch of those that I've just kept, and I put the jewelry for that outfit and I hang it on the hanger. So that's all ready to go. Brainless, right? And it's an order of, okay, this is day 1 day, this is day 1 night, this is day 2 day. And I like line it up like that in the garment bag. And then when I get to the hotel, I just whoop and take the garment bag off. It's all ironed and everything's ready to go. So that I don't have to deal with it. So, and then I found this, actually one of my mom's girlfriends was using this. It's called the Stow and Go. It's on Amazon. It's like $25 or something. It's not crazy, but you throw a bunch of your stuff in your suitcase that doesn't need to be hung, like, underwear or pajamas or workout clothes, which is always bad when you pack workout clothes and then you unpack them and put them back in the drawer because you didn't work out on the trip. I always hate that. But anyway, so when I pack, I hang that up in my closet like you see there, and I pack it like it's in the drawers that I would put at the hotel, and then it fastens, it like clips and you can zip tie it kind of thing. Then you put it in your suitcase, you get to the hotel, hang it up in the closet and undo the fasteners and voila, you're done. So it just saves a bunch of time and headache, and you don't have to use the hotel's drawers and all that stuff. So anyway, that's just tips that work for me on packing.
Yeah.
Lisa, you had one on pre-prepping your partner or calling in reinforcements when you leave for a work trip.
Yeah, we're fortunate as well, and my in-laws live about 10 minutes away. We share my travel calendar with them, so they're always kind of on call when
Yeah.
I'm out of town. But for upcoming travel, we try to make sure ahead of that, right? Like all the laundry is done, meal prep if we can. We do only have one toddler, but we also have a puppy. So kind of trying to prep everything to make it as easy as possible for my husband when I am gone. I'm sure he would do the same, but he doesn't have to travel in his job. So he's the lucky one who gets to stay home.
There you go. Good. And Lauren, you had a tip about the number of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. I have to travel, so instead of trying to do Monday or Thursday, I tried to do drop off, fly out like Tuesday, and then come back Wednesday or Thursday. I try not to be gone 4 days. The schedule, I have 2 toddler boys. Messing with their schedule messes the whole house.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So
For sure.
Yep.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
I think there's a lot of us, and I used to, when the kids were smaller, that I'd say I would kill myself, but you were taking the early morning flights, the
Yep.
red eye flights, you know, to try to minimize that time of being away. Certainly didn't help from a sleep scenario, but
Yes. The ring would have been yelling at you, Rachel.
yes, it absolutely would have been, yes.
One thing I do too, is it's probably not good, but there's an amount of my job is demanding, right? So I have to work a lot. And so if I'm traveling or when the kids are with their dad, I'll work later nights. And then I'll work late into the evening or wake up early or things like that. Of course, if you're traveling on a business trip and you've got evening events, that doesn't really happen, but I try to be as productive with work when I'm not with the children and not at home, so that I can be focused when I get there or get back with them. So even the weekends that they're with their dad, I might work all day on Sunday, and then I take a day off on Thursday and pick Rowan up from daycare, and we go on a mommy Rowan date or something like that. So it's just trading off the time that you're working, and trying to be productive as possible. So. And this is actually funny. I work almost, I can't remember the last time other than this story I'm going to tell you that I didn't work on an airplane. Like I work every second that I can to be productive. But this one time we were on the way to the network show most recently, and I get on the airplane and I sit next to this gentleman in a middle seat, and something triggered me. I don't know why. I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to work on the trip today. And turns out I get off the plane and I work for GP, and Susan Gambarella for Kimberly-Clark comes off the plane, and we know each other. So we have, say hello. And then she walks right up to the gentleman that was sitting next to me. It's the chief customer officer for Kimberly-Clark that was sitting directly next to me.
How about that?
So it was lovely that, I didn't work on my network presentation right by the chief customer officer of my direct competitor. So
yes.
Ladies, we have 5 minutes to go. So if you want to.
Perfect.
Any other tips that you guys have that you want to share? Because I know
Kim, the only thing that I would add when I think about, and because I hate packing, I feel like that's like such a stress for me. So I'm going to take your tips. I always also think about like just this, to me, it's the stress that it adds to the family that Lisa touched on and Lauren touched on a little bit. But so I also, one, pick your battles, like I like the dishes to be done and all of this, or my kids just may eat cereal and rice the whole week when dad has them, and that's okay, like I have to be okay with that. And then I'd also say, as far as setting your boundaries, if you have some flexibility, and hopefully you have some flexibility, but I think back a couple years ago when ISSA fell over Halloween, and I had a male boss, not that it should make any difference, but for some reason I was so nervous to tell him I agonized whether or not, do I go to this? Do I go? Do I not? Do I miss Halloween? And then ultimately, said I can't, I have small kids. And his response was, of course you can't miss Halloween. You need to be there with your family. So set those boundaries, whether it's you're not going to miss the birthday or, and that changes as the kids get older as well. That'd be my advice.
Yep, makes sense. I know we didn't get to a couple of the other topics, but we're gonna let Felicia kind of close this out. We've got Felicia, you want to share the resources, or Rachel? I know you put this together.
Yeah. So just, and certainly team, if there's any if you have any suggestions for podcasts, I know there were some already in the chat or resources, please put more of them in the chat. These are just some things that we came up with. Podcasts. There's one called The Calm Mom. Harvard Business Review has this Women at Work, which has all different professionals and executives that are giving advice. Some of these readings here that we talked about, the one I'll call out is Fair Play. And it kind of touches on, Kim talked about us being, the CEOs of the household as well. Fair Play is all about that. How do we help navigate some of those situations within our house as well with our village. And then I referenced this as well. We did this webinar that we did during the pandemic that was really at the height of we were trying to balance and everything was crashing down, it seemed, as well. So there was some tips and advice in there as well. So that's all we have. So I think with that, we're going to hand it back over to Felicia.
Oh, great. Thank you, ladies, so much. I picked up a couple tips. I will tell you. I love Mel Robbins. I listen to her podcast all the time. And Kim, I'm going to buy the Stow and Go because
yes, me too.
I need to pull it together here with travel. And I love checking. I now like carrying on bags versus checking them. So I need to figure out how to maneuver all that stuff. But thank you, ladies, so much. Rachel Protowski and Kim Price, thank you for your time. And also thank all of you for attending. But before you go, I do want to encourage you all to consider joining Hygieia's mentoring program. We do have an opportunity for you to join our general mentoring program. You can go to the site, mentoring.hygienetwork.org, or scan the QR code on the screen. We have a database of just some dynamic leaders who are looking to be connected with mentees. We also have opportunities for our sponsors, as I mentioned, to join us as an exclusive company program. So if you are a sponsor on the line, please share this information with your superiors so that they can formulate a exclusive program through Hygieia. And then lastly, I do encourage you all to join Hygieia if you have not already done so. You'll be put into our database. You'll gain access to our e-blasts and other resources and events. So it is important to get linked with Hygieia as a member. And you can do that for free at hygienetwork.org/join. That's hygienetwork.org/join. Or you can scan the QR code on the screen. So that concludes our session for today, and we will hold some of these in the near future. So please look out on social media and via email for updates. So thank you all for being here and enjoy the rest of your day.